The Craig Fahle Show on Deadline Detroit is made possible in part by Lynette's Shrimp House, located in Highland Park. It's Metro Detroit's premier destination, serving juicy fried shrimp, fish, and wings, alongside soul food sides and new additions to the menu, like turkey tacos and desserts. Located at 13548 Woodward in Highland Park, just north of the Davison, Lynette's is open for takeaway, noon to 8 Tuesday and Thursday, noon to 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday, and noon to 5 p.m. on Sunday. Call now, get some Lynette's. Hey, greetings, everybody. Welcome to the week that was on Deadline Detroit. I am your host, Craig Fahle. Glad to be with you today, and it has been an incredibly strange week once again. We say that every week, and we have for the last year and a half almost that we have been doing this. And I would like to welcome my guests. As usual, we have, of course, Allan Lengel, who is the editor and co-founder of Deadline Detroit. Welcome, sir. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Nancy Derringer, who, of course, is with Deadline Detroit, but also the author of the Deadline Detroit newsletter. Go to deadlinedetroit.com, sign up, just give us your email address. You'll get it in your email inbox every Wednesday afternoon. It is a delightful roundup of all of the things happening in Detroit. She does a fantastic job with that. Oh, come on now. You do a good job with that.
Thank you.
And also, we have a unique political power couple here in the state joining us this time. Susan Demas, of course, is the editor of the Michigan Advance. We certainly appreciate her being with us. She is a frequent guest on my regular podcast, and I appreciate her being here for this today. I'm not sure she'll feel that great about it when it's all over, but she is here now. And her husband, Joe DiSano, a longtime political operative, consultant, strategist. Joe DiSano of DiSano and Associates. Thank you, Joe, for being here. I appreciate it.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And Susan, thank you once again for being here. All right. So when I sent the email out yesterday to everybody about what we're going to talk about, it was very sort of wide open because the silliness abounds. There are levels of silliness we haven't seen in a long time in this post-election period. I've never witnessed somebody who is so unwilling to concede an obvious result in an election. This is not Florida in 2000. This is not 527 votes in a state of 10 million people. This is 100 and something thousand votes in a state like Michigan, 20,000 votes in Wisconsin. Arizona's about that number. There is no way this guy's going to overturn these results with these ridiculous lawsuits that we're seeing. I'm going to let the newcomers chime in on this one first. You guys have been watching politics a long time and have been involved in races for a long time. Joe, I'm going to ask you this question. When is it time to get into a candidate's face and say, just own up, man, you lost?
Well, there's a couple answers to that. There's one when you're worried about the individual person, the candidate. I mean, I like to throw bombs, but half my job is to be armchair psychologist. And, that's the first thing you got to deal with. But second of all, when there is he's creating a clear and present danger to the republic, that's when you have a responsibility as a citizen, not as a political advisor or a friend or just a voter. You have, I think, a patriotic duty to get up in this guy's face and help him.
Well, and at the same time, though, I mean, for me, I look at what's going on here, and it seems like just a continuation of the grift here. He's got a rabid bunch of people who he's convinced that somehow he's being cheated, and he's able to continue milking money out of them. And most of this goes to basically retire his campaign debt. So I can see why he would do this, because it makes fiscal sense for him to do it. And as long as you've got a bunch of people who are willing to basically throw whatever money's in their wallet to you, even though you've already lost, why wouldn't you keep that going?
Well, yeah, I don't necessarily even blame him. I mean, I blame the conditions and the voters who allowed him to flourish for the past 40, 50 years. Here's a simple fact of the matter. The reason he has been able to get away with this for so many years is he's been unconstrained. Through bluster, threats, and intimidation, people just shy away. And finally, hopefully the end of the nightmare is here. It's just a question of how much damage he does out the door.
Well, he certainly seems intent on doing some damage. Allan, you've got a lot of friends in the intelligence and the justice system at the federal level, especially. They're freaking out a little bit. We're starting to see some resignations and some real rumblings that this is a problem. What he is doing right now.
It's interesting. I wrote I have another website, ticklethewire.com, and I did write a lot of FBI agents read it, and I wrote a editorial or a column, basically saying that Joe Biden needs to telegraph to the American people and to the FBI that if Christopher Wray is fired, that he will rehire him in January. So there's some continuity there. And I mean, there's no reason I mean, the FBI has been battered over the last 4 years, and I mean, it hasn't done everything perfectly, and it deserves, some criticism. But all in all, it remains the preeminent agency, and Christopher Wray has done really a remarkable job, considering flying under the radar and still, keeping the ship straight. He has a respect. He's not the most charismatic FBI director to come along, but he does have integrity, and I think people appreciate that he's trying to create stability there. So he's got a 10-year term, which is supposed to be, Comey also had a 10-year term, but that didn't last. But there should be some continuity there, and I think when I posted it, there was one of the former FBI agents who agreed with it and said, Christopher Wray's doing a great job and he needs to stay on. So,
honestly, I'm not really concerned with what the FBI thinks. They're employees. You have to clear out everyone who was involved in any of this. You have a whole nest in New York that needs to be cleared out that should have been done 4 years ago, should have been done during the Obama term. So I don't think we worked this election just to allow these hangers on to continue. The elections have consequences, and Ray has done an admirable job, but we need to have someone in there not picked by Trump.
Well, we will definitely we'll spend some time a little bit later on in the show. Go ahead.
I think Ray is. I mean, he's not a political guy. I think I don't know. I think he's fine. I don't think his allegiance is to Trump.
In that press conference right before the election, where he let Radcliffe run wild.
Yeah.
To me, sorry, Charlie, hit the bricks.
Well, I'll tell you what, we will spend some time a little bit later on talking about which cabinet member you're going to be most excited to see leave Washington, because the list is so long. And Nancy, you're just like, you're laughing. You're excited at this prospect about talking about which person you want.
Drain the swamp.
It's like looking at a big box of chocolates and trying to decide which one you want to taste first.
Which one you want to wash first.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Well, Susan, I mean, again, you've been covering politics a long time as well. And I mean, I've never seen a candidate cling to this notion, which is clearly just, made up out of thin air for this long. Reality is smacking him in the face, yet he doesn't want to go down. Is this just about maintaining that political power beyond this year and maybe mounting some sort of Grover Cleveland style run in a couple of years?
It is comical, but if he only lost by Pennsylvania and Michigan or Arizona, I think we'd have a pretty serious crisis on our hands. And I think this probably would end up at the Supreme Court. And I don't think that we can be confident that a 6-3 very conservative majority would decide that voters really had the ultimate say. So we lucked out because Biden has 306 electoral votes. It's not close. As Trump told us 4 years ago, that's a landslide. Plus,
and it was a mandate, right?
Right. Yeah, he won the popular vote too by 5 million or so.
Right.
So I think there's huge damage to the Republic going on right now, even with an unsuccessful effort. And while he's definitely fleecing people and it's rather sad, that's more of my concern.
Well, we obviously have a lot of people who are ginned up about this. They think that there has been some sort of widespread fraud. And just because the president says it, these people are believing it. Now we've got the possibility of the Million MAGA rally that is supposed to be happening in Washington tomorrow, as a matter of fact. Well, I mean, I'm sorry, but that could be the ultimate super spreader event if indeed that goes on. Could you imagine?
Even somehow, if you're going to have herd immunity.
Well, that's basically what it is. Are they volunteering themselves for the scrap heap, to help mitigate this disease? Because, I mean, I guess my biggest problem with what we're seeing right now is the president has been sulking in the White House for the last few days. He showed up begrudgingly to lay a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier on Veterans Day. You look at him, he's not addressing the problems of the nation at the moment. He just gave his first interview to the Washington Examiner, which came out about an hour ago, as a matter of fact. And if you read it, all he's talking about is the election results and how it's rigged and how these cases are going to succeed. And he's going to win another term. No mention of COVID, no mention of the spike that we're seeing nationwide right now. And, Joe Biden desperately would like to put something in place to actually get us moving in the right direction on this, but the federal government is not responding in any way, shape, or form. And this is, I mean, look, I'm not going, I think Thanksgiving's going to be spent right here in my bunker with a turkey sandwich, I have a feeling.
I think you're probably right.
Trump was saying don't bet against them in that article. Well,
yeah.
I'm willing to bet against them this time.
Yeah, I think
I was
Vegas
in the shower. I missed that one. You know, somebody asked me the other day.
No, you didn't miss anything, Nancy.
Okay, good. Somebody asked me the other day if like things were going to be okay from now on, and I came back to this image which I've used before. Is I feel like Marcellus Wallace, just after he's pulled the ball gag out of his mouth and racked the shotgun, and he's standing there, and Bruce Willis, in Pulp Fiction, of course, and Bruce Willis says, "You okay?" And he goes, "No, man." He says, "I'm a long way from okay." I mean, it's like we have the upper hand now.
What does okay mean?
What? Pardon me?
What is okay anymore?
Yeah, I know. What is okay anymore? Exactly. But I mean,
for the past 7 to 8 days, this woman's been in the best mood I've seen her in 4 years.
I'm glad to hear that.
Okay. I mean, I actually quite enjoyed all these degenerates exposing themselves for their feeble thinking, to think this was a legitimate contested election. And what is normal now that people have, dropped their mask and walk among us?
But that's the part of the problem, though, is that, what is normal now? And, I'm trying to think at a higher level, like an adult, and think about like all of the problems and all of the terrible seeds that were planted in the last 4 years that are going to continue to grow and flower among us. And that's part of why this this delayed transition is so worrisome. I mean, it's going around this kind of, idea that, or this thing that people are saying now, many people are saying, that the failure of the transition to start when it needed to in 2000 is part of what led to the security lapses that, caused 9/11. And so, or that led to 9/11, I should say. And so, you worry, like how many of our enemies around the globe are kind of watching this ridiculous situation and just kind of rubbing their hands together and looking for their opening.
It's interesting. I posted on Facebook, I believe it was yesterday. I saw somebody who had commented on one of our columns. I went to their Facebook page and they had a posting that said, "Oh my gosh, there were 5 million votes in Georgia, and yet there are only 3.7 million people who live in Georgia. Come on, they're not even hiding it anymore. They're cheating. Let's do something about it." And so it ends up, he was talking, it was Soviet Georgia that has 3.7 million. The state of Georgia has 10 million. Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff that gets propagated on Facebook and social media.
But let's talk about this, because those exact things you're talking about, Allan, are the types of things that people are signing these quote unquote sworn affidavits to instigate some sort of investigation into the electoral process in these various states. In fact, while we're on the air today, there will likely be a ruling coming from the Michigan or the Wayne County Circuit Court on some of the latest ones. And if you read through some of these affidavits, they are so ridiculous. There's one person that said that the process was bad because there were union people in the room and they were intimidating me. And I'm like, yep, I'd be intimidated with a room full of SEIU workers too. Absolutely. Those purple t-shirts are scary as hell. They're the new Hell's Angels.
My favorite, and I'm so disappointed that this did not appear in one of the local dailies, because it was so good, is in the Washington Post, where the woman said that at one point, one of the Democratic challengers said, "Go back to the suburbs, Karen."
Oh, no, we got that.
Yeah, you had that. Okay.
Oh, did you have that one, Susan? Good.
Just in advance.
I'm a sucker for Karen humor.
But I mean, Susan, you read through these complaints, these alleged complaints and these affidavits. I've already had people have had to retract some of them so they don't face any perjury charges, because what people don't get is a sworn affidavit is basically something that can get you in a lot of trouble if you're lying.
It's not a post on Facebook.
Yes, exactly.
And so, you're starting to see this stuff unravel, and everybody who's around the president knows this stuff is bad. But I mean, these lawyers who are going up there and making these arguments, it has been hilarious to watch them just get smacked down.
Shockingly bad. I mean, firms like Jones Day have gotten most of the attention, but they have hired like bums. Like seriously, people who should not have law degrees. I mean, the one here in Michigan, Thor. What the hell is that?
Yeah.
Come
Thor. That's right. His name is Thor. I forgot.
Seriously.
Actually, his name is something like John, but
Yes, we chose Thor.
It was a nickname that he had growing up, and he kind of adopted it as his legal, superpower identity. I'm Thor.
The funny thing about Thor was in that original case he was doing in front of Judge Cynthia Stevens, he originally was there in front of a backdrop. He had a backdrop of the Supreme Court behind him, like a green screen backdrop to make him look even more important. And then his computer had problems with the audio, so they had to switch it to his assistants. And then it was just him sitting in front of a green curtain.
During that hearing, I wanted to look into him, so I Googled his law firm, and his promo photo is the same person, but like 40 pounds and like far less weathered. It's
we all want to look good in our, LinkedIn.
But the reality, you put them side by side, it's like me and Brad Pitt.
But talking about backdrops, we didn't really get a chance to talk about this last weekend, and I wanted to, but the press conference at Four Seasons Landscaping. How much of an embarrassment was that? And it's still lingering today. The memes are out there right now. This company, God bless him, is selling T-shirts, merchandise, all kinds. Four Seasons Landscaping is now the most famous landscaping company in the history of the world.
You know who I feel just incredibly bad for are all of the New York reporters that for years were just at Rudy Giuliani's beck and call. He's such a leader. He led us through 9/11. He's so smart. He should be president.
America's mayor.
What the guy has turned into. And maybe your judgment has been off a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah. The only thing is, SNL has done such a great job of doing Rudy Giuliani. I think it's hysterical.
Well, I mean, just what a fall, from grace that is. But, as I pointed out that day that happened, and I said, in my former job, had I set up a press conference in a location like this, I would have been fired on the spot.
Well, because that's actually a great point. Because all the people who were employed by this operation, the Trump campaign, most of them were just dregs. They were the people that no one else wanted. So you have screw ups like this. I almost started working blue.
You can
screw ups like this, and there are. Oh, I can.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. So it's a fucking disaster. Let's be honest. It's an embarrassment for them. I think it's the funniest thing ever.
Yeah.
So this is the equivalent of throwing a campaign press conference at the Pink Flamingo on Gratiot and 14th. I mean, this is no different.
It's interesting. I mean, you have to assume it was Rudy Giuliani who figured out, okay, we can't get the Four Seasons. We're going to be so clever here and get this Four Seasons here because we said Four Seasons.
See,
no, I don't think that's what happened.
I think they thought they booked the Four Seasons, announced it, then had to scramble. I think
yeah.
Because they probably answered Four Seasons, and it's like, hey, do you have a space where we can have a press conference? Well,
no,
kind of an unusual request.
I think they said we're going to get the Four Seasons, and then they couldn't get it. So they said, hey, wait a minute, there's a Four Seasons landscaping. Let's do that.
Okay, fine. But if you're going to use a facility like that, and you get there and you're a PR person that's looking at this, you've got to amend the remarks from somebody saying, we decided this was a symbolic place because it's small businesses like this that are the backbone of our economy, and they overwhelmingly support Donald Trump and want to see justice in this country. If you would have framed it that way, everybody would say, okay, I can see the symbolism in that. You might have been able to pull it off.
Right.
But they didn't mention this company at all. It basically looked like they were standing in front of an alley garage door, which they were, next to a porn shop.
There should have been a little like crawler on the bottom that says, mention this press conference to get 20% off on snow removal.
That's right. Fall cleanup special.
Madness is going on at the adult bookstore. Stop it before you leave.
Right.
Put something on your expense account. Oh God! I know that was
Saturday. Put some enjoyment back into getting screwed. Visit the store next door.
Saturday.
There was a sex offender who spoke for the Trump campaign there.
Yeah. Well, there was that guy too, yeah.
And he was shopping next door too.
So
Joe's first job was driving John Dingell around, and now Congresswoman Dingell. I'm just kind of wondering what would the Dean of Congress have said if you made a screw up like that?
He would have very thoughtfully written a letter pointing out your flaws.
No.
Who would have laughed?
You know, the best analogy.
Boy, I don't think he would have been pleased. I think I'm going to save myself here and just leave it at that. But more importantly, anyone who did this should be fired.
And Congresswoman Dingell would not have been pleased.
No man would.
She would have been very concerned, absolutely, and she would have pursed her lips like she does.
The best analogy that I've heard about Trump refusing to go is a parent trying to drag their kid out early from a Chuck E. Cheesy birthday party.
That's exactly right. Well, but here's the thing that a legitimate question, because a lot of these people in Congress, Republican senators, Republican representatives, are really unwilling to cross him at this point in time. They don't want to challenge Donald Trump to his, they are worried about that base and whether or not he is going to control the Republican Party in some way going forward. And I have to ask every single one of them, is this the team you want leading the party going forward? At what point is somebody going to stand up and say, this guy just got his ass handed to him by Joe Biden, an almost 80-year-old guy who was a retread in the Democratic Party for a long time, and he just got his butt kicked. Why do we want him anywhere near the reins of power of the Republican Party? Somebody needs to stand up and point out the idiocy of this. Oh, Don Jr., exactly.
Over the RNC. God bless you. I'll write you a check for that.
Don and Kim.
Yeah,
they're talking. Apparently, they're unhappy with Ronna. Don't call me Romney McDaniel. They believe screwed things up, which I think is hilarious. But.
Well, she actually just won some seats in Congress. I mean, if you're going to point the finger at anybody for this, it's at Donald Trump and Donald Trump alone. I mean, it's his personality that basically blew this race for him.
His first debate was a disaster.
I mean,
but do you really think there was anyone undecided by the time the debates happened? I mean, it shows what a reign of terror this guy still. How much power he still holds in the Republican Party. I mean, yeah, he's refusing to go, and all of these, testicle-free Republicans are backing him up as well. But I mean, this is what they're afraid. They're still afraid of him. I mean, he's going to spend the next 4 years, lurching from his Trump TV to whatever, and they're just, they can't afford to screw up somebody or piss off somebody who is still very powerful.
Well, let me just say this, based on the results that we saw this election cycle, the number of women that won in this cycle, and the number of powerful women that are emerging as the real players, testicles may be overrated.
I was just trying. I like to use that.
You get mine back after the show.
I was going to say, this is the equivalent of a joint Facebook page down here in the corner. So.
I like to use that metaphor for both genders. So sometimes I'll say, you don't have the ovaries to go toe to toe with me.
I understand, but I said, it's the men are not showing me a whole lot right now, especially on the Republican side. Who is going to actually challenge this man for leadership of the party? Because I know a lot of Republicans who did not vote for Donald Trump that were definitely rooting for the Lincoln Project and wanting to see some sort of change, but none of them right now are willing to stand up and say, maybe it's time we think about a different approach for the party, and we've got to get this thing back under control. They're so afraid of pissing off that base because they're desperate not to lose Georgia. I mean, let's be honest. That's what this is all about, is keeping that base ginned up so they show up in Georgia. I have a feeling they're going to screw that one up. I wouldn't be shocked if the Democrats took both of those seats just based on the tantrum we're witnessing right now. Joe, you're looking at me like I don't see it happening, but
no, in fact, I agree.
Yeah,
I think it's great. In Georgia, a Jew and a black might win.
Nice. The civil rights movement band back together.
Right.
I mean, but is there anybody that you guys see that might be able to actually bring some sanity back to the Republican Party, find a way to fold the deplorables back into the base in a much more normal way, where they do not have this outsized influence and voice?
No, I don't. The thing is if you look at the electorate, Donald Trump got people to the polls that didn't show up for Mitt Romney, that didn't show up for John McCain. And he did that because he ran on white power. That is the message that resonates. Tax cuts for plutocrats.
That was sarcastic, by the way.
Yeah, I got that.
It resonates with them. Because tax cuts for plutocrats does not get people to the polls. Mealy-mouthed talk like Romney and McCain brought, that's not what the base wants. The base likes what Donald Trump brings. They like waving the Trump flag just like people liked putting on hoods decades ago.
Well, I'm not sure there's necessarily even a real market share for changing. I mean, forgive me, Craig, but I'm going to assume most of the Republicans that you talk to are fairly civilized and not like the QAnon knuckle draggers that live in northern Macomb County that descended upon the polls like barbarians. I mean,
I think
what he's saying is absolutely right.
I think it does open up the possibility, and not. I mean, the problem is the Republicans are so wishy-washy. I mean, it does open the possibility for Mitt Romney and people like Susan Collins and Murkowski to sort of bring back a little bit of the moderate part of the Republican Party, which has been purged. The problem is Mitt Romney, suddenly you'll be like, wow, Mitt Romney is showing some backbone, and then suddenly he falls backward. Susan Collins, the same thing. And Murkowski is probably more consistent in terms of that. But I think it does open a possibility.
But you're assuming that people want to be called by their better angels, and I don't think I think Joe is absolutely right. I think these QAnon people, what is it, 70 or 80% of Republicans now believe that there was widespread fraud in the election. I mean, they're totally buying this line that Trump is peddling, that this election was unfairly stolen from him. It was rigged. I mean, those people aren't going to be reached by frickin' Susan Collins. Are you kidding me?
And the interesting thing is, a lot of this stuff is being driven back underground in a certain way because of the emergence of this Parler app that people are starting to use. So you've got a lot of the QAnon people who are getting blocked by Facebook and getting blocked by Twitter, although Facebook, Zuckerberg's another story. But they're all moving to Parler. And I wanted to bring this up because I heard this referred to a couple of great ways. One, it was they're calling it Mindspace, MEIN, Mindspace, which I thought was pretty good. And then somebody else called all the removal of people from Facebook and Twitter into Parler. So getting rid of all the QAnon people was the digital rapture.
I don't think Parler's going to do much because part of what they enjoy is pissing off everybody else. And if you're in a bubble that's only people who are just saying, attaboy, that's that's not going to work for them.
No, you need liberal tears.
Yeah, you need exactly. Cry more, lib.
The cake does not rise without liberal tears.
Yeah,
exactly. Understood. But
that's part of how we fight back on this, because these people exist in a truth-free environment.
Oh,
okay?
well,
there was no voter fraud. You know that. I know that. Everyone with a 3-digit IQ and mentally stable believes that there's no voter fraud. So these people exist in a cesspool of misinformation, manipulation, and hatred. We are not going to engage them or persuade them. So we have to be in their face every chance we get. That's my big change over the past 4 years. I used to think, you know what, these people, their motives are different than mine, but their motives are not bad. I am here to tell you these people are rotten to the core. They don't share our values. We have to take a hammer to them every day in their face, rhetorically for now. Rhetorically for now. But that day may come. And I'll be very honest with you. I'm calling these MAGA guys pussies, because if I legitimately thought a president was being removed from office by a fraud, I wouldn't be here on a podcast.
Yeah.
I would legitimately do something, because that's my patriotic duty as an American.
Well,
we don't want to incite anything here. You never know what somebody's going to do.
We have to confront these people with unvarnished, non-moderated truth. Drive them back into their holes, because that's where they need to stay.
Well, and take a look at what the FBI just released is some little bit more information about the plans of these guys that wanted to kidnap the governor. I mean, just how depraved and violent that was. I mean,
it was not a plot to kidnap the governor. That was
a plot to kill.
Kidnap the governor, have a show trial, and execute her.
Yes,
on video.
The level of the rhetoric that we are dealing with.
And the fact that Republican leadership in this state said, oh, crime is bad, let's go to a rally against the governor an hour later, and still don't care.
And there's no cost.
After these plans were announced when the Capitol could have been blown up.
The COVID shirky spike.
How do you compromise with people who don't have a moral center?
That's a very good question.
It's going to be political brute force. And that's the only thing that's going to change this.
Well, we do have to get to some other things, and they're all weaving together, though, because I mentioned at the beginning of this, COVID. What we're seeing right now in terms of COVID is just, it's really, really bad. And now other parts of the country that weren't seeing the spikes that we were seeing in urban America are now feeling it. I mean, look at what the Utah governor did the other day. Those are some of the most extreme measures that have been taken in any state. Yet I don't see people out there burning masks and threatening to take over the Utah Capitol because he's a Republican, but he's doing the right thing. Worried about public safety, saying, hey, our hospitals are being overwhelmed right now. We do not have the capacity to meet this. We still don't have a national strategy on making sure that the right types of PPE and ventilators and things like that are going to the places where they are needed. We still have not figured this out. And I'm really concerned about where this is going over the next few weeks. We still have people that refuse to wear masks. And we will see this giant rally in Washington this weekend where nobody's going to have a mask. And they're all going to be out there screaming whatever they're screaming.
Well, you see that there's a story in the Washington Post today that about 130 Secret Service agents and probably officers, police, are either have COVID or are being quarantined because they were exposed to COVID. And a lot of them were on the campaign trail, in the past few weeks with Trump, who has used people as props, who has, we've seen outbreaks where he's had campaign rallies and he does not care. They're props to him and nothing more.
And I mean, I'm not sure, I don't know the full number of people that work in the Secret Service, but 130.
It's a relatively tight number.
That's about 10% of the core of their protection.
That's a pretty significant hit.
Yeah.
And when you see what's going on.
Protect the president too.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are agents taking off cases when a president goes to an area, as well as a traveling entourage.
I mean, we did have some good potential news here in that the results of the one of the trials that Pfizer did looked very promising. But people are sitting there going, "Oh, great, we got a vaccine." No, you and I are not going to get this probably till April or May if we're lucky.
Oh, I think that's optimistic.
Yeah, that's
like I said, if we're lucky. But we may see something in the middle of next year where we actually have mass vaccinations for this, and we can actually start to, get on with our lives in some capacity. But we're just wasting time right now in this transition because we know Trump's not going to do anything. At what point is there like some sort of a national emergency or something that you can do that says, you know what, this guy's not going to be involved in this anymore. We just need to get it done. And is that something federal workers are even able to do? I don't know.
You knew right away. You knew after the election that he was not going to try to do his job, and not that he's been doing it the whole time, but you knew he'd just be moping and just figuring out a way how to sabotage everything. I mean, he is not doing his job right now, which is like the pandemic is spinning out of control and we don't see anything.
He's going to Mar-a-Lago for Thanksgiving and he's not coming back.
Well, that wouldn't bother me a whole lot as long as I thought somebody was in charge.
Yeah, but nobody's
Although
in charge.
The Ohio governor was saying that he is still talking to the pandemic, Pence and stuff every week, so that he was trying to say there's something going on there, but I don't know how much really.
Well,
we've got a rudderless 68 days.
Yeah.
Well, got a whole spring.
Dead man walking.
And we're going to pay for this the second time.
Yeah.
We already paid for it once. We paid for one shutdown. And that's where we're going.
Well, we are going, but this time we're going without a stimulus package either, though.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing. I'm not sure we'll see too many formal government shutdowns with the way the courts seem to be so activist about this. But people who can will shut themselves down.
Yeah, we're
in a bubble. We basically have been. It sucks, but I don't really care to spread this thing or be exposed.
Yeah. The question is, when does Whitmer act? I feel like she's going to wait till like maybe the Ohio governor does something and then she'll move, because I think she's I think she's shell shocked by all the attacks.
No, I think the legalities are a big problem, because since the Supreme Court got rid of that law, I'm not sure that she has the authority.
So, I mean, okay, Susan, you follow the legislature very closely. What's the likelihood that she goes to Shirkey and Chatfield and says, look, guys, we got to do something here. It's in your district now. Your relatives, your friends are the ones that are getting whacked. Step up. I'll even let you get some of the credit for doing the right thing.
Been doing that for months. They don't care.
Well, I mean, at some point they're going to, because their own constituents in their districts are getting whacked right now.
They don't care. If they will not care.
Grandma was going to die anyways. Abortions are forever.
Oof. Wow. Okay. All right.
Grandma was 79.
That's what they think, though.
It's true.
It is.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I've covered Republican leaders for 20 years. And, people had a lot of criticism about your Mike Bishops and your Randy Richardsvilles. They wouldn't have screwed stuff up like this. These people are totally insulated to electoral consequences and don't care.
Well, on that pleasant note, let's move to something that's, I agree. I like to have more faith in my fellow man, and I'm not sure I can all the time. I did bring this up earlier. Cabinet members you're excited to see leave. This is a long list of people that could go, that are going to be leaving, and I'd be happy to see the door hit them on the rear end when they do leave, because they're not good people. Who wants to go first on that one? Allan, Lengel.
Bill. I mean, my two would be Bill Barr and Pompeo.
Yeah, well, Pompeo the other day, what a jackass. I'm sorry. Yeah. That's a great signal to send to our allies around the country. The fact that all these foreign leaders are calling Joe Biden right now, bypassing the State Department so they can call him directly to say congratulations, speaks all you need to know about how they feel about things. Right. But Pompeo saying we'll have a smooth transition to a second Trump term. Sorry, that's not good. Nancy, who you got?
Ben Carson. Just because he pisses me off. He just gets on my nerves. I mean, I was reading this series that Slate dropped over the weekend. I'm not a big Slate fan, but they did this thing called Goodbye. Yes. And it was these short pieces, about 500 words. Goodbye, Ivanka. Goodbye, Jared. And the one on Ben Carson was he's not really on the radar as much as he once was. But talk about a man who almost literally sold his soul for what? To be the housing and urban development.
Well, and why did he make a Surgeon General or something?
Off of a high school in Detroit, for God's sake, because of this. I mean, he was perfectly situated to be like a Black History Month, hero for the ages. This kid who was born in rough circumstances and made everything of himself. And then, as the guy, Rick Wilson, who had the book Everything Trump Touches Dies, he touched Trump, or Trump touched him. And this is what he's come to. He's going to end his career, in disgrace with coronavirus. So, well,
yeah, Trump has the Midas touch after all, but not Midas. It's the Midas mother shot. That's where his next press conference is going to be.
I'm leaving the obvious. I'm leaving the obvious next choice to the parents who actually have children in public schools.
Oh, that's right. There you go. Okay, Susan and Joe, you guys both get to choose which cabinet member you're excited to see leave. What's that?
Wilbur Ross at Commerce. I think you're going to see a decade of corruption spinning out of this, because I think the Bank of Cyprus, Deutsche Bank, he's got sleazy deals all around the world.
The census.
It's going to take 10 years to figure it out, and he'll be dead, but we're going to get to the bottom of it. We have to.
Susan?
Okay, well, Allan stole Bill Barr.
Yeah, that's
I would go with hometown favorite Betsy DeVos. As the daughter of a public school teacher, what she has done to education for the last 4 years, has been a disaster. Her most memorable quote is something about bears in her confirmation hearing. Nobody can think of any policy that's been constructive that she has pushed. She got her ass sued in court repeatedly and lost because of all the shady deals she wanted to do in terms of student loans, making sure that her friends in corporate schools got paid. So good luck and good riddance.
I forgot about the Bears. That's right. When they were talking, that was the debate about guns in schools.
Yeah.
Guns in schools. Well, in Wyoming, they have grizzly bears. I'm like, well.
Potential grizzlies.
That's right. So that was pretty good.
I'm a hiker. I'm concerned about grizzlies, perhaps when I'm in Yellowstone, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Well, all good choices. I was definitely going to go with Betsy DeVos as well, because you said what she's done to education over the last 4 years. Let's go back a little bit further than that. I mean, her money has been undermining the public school system in the state of Michigan and nationwide for about 30 years now. This really goes back to the beginnings of my political coverage in the Engler administration, when the whole charter school movement got started. They put all their money they could behind that, and I've certainly watched districts like Detroit in particular really, really suffer under this yoke of oppression that was Betsy DeVos and her family's influence over politics. So
can I make a quick note here? I will miss Steve Mnuchin, if only because of his wife, who is like something out of a Bond. She's like a Bond villain, and it's like
she's a glove model.
Exactly, Louise Linton, the acclaimed Scottish actress. I'm gonna miss her.
And porn star.
And what?
Allegedly.
Porn star? Oh, I did not know that.
No, I didn't.
All right. Well, you know what?
Right?
We got to wrap this up pretty soon, and we definitely have to get to Schmuck of the Week because, obviously what we're witnessing right now, I don't know what's going on. Somebody's getting a dumpster on.
Picked up.
You know what? My window is right outside. I'm on the 5th floor, but
there you go. So they're emptying the dumpster behind the park Shelton.
This is my
what's going
daily
on.
entertainment.
All right, but we definitely have to get to Schmuck of the Week. And you know what? I usually go last, but I think I'm going to go first this time, just because the week that we've had has been so stupid. I'm going to go with John Cornyn, who is of course, Republican senator from Texas. And he suggests that it's too soon to declare Biden the winner. This is what he said in an interview yesterday, because Puerto Rico is still counting votes. And there's like tens of thousands of votes still outstanding in Puerto Rico. And what he seems to forget is that Puerto Rico doesn't get to vote for president. He's a senator, United States senator. He should know that Puerto Rico doesn't get to vote for president. So Puerto Rico's outstanding vote tally has nothing to do with whether or not Donald Trump got his ass kicked by Joe Biden by a record margin. So anyway, John Cornyn, you are my Schmuck of the Week. I've got another one that I'm going to come back at a little bit, which is just a similar level of stupidity. And it also involves the U.S. Senate, Tommy Tuberville. So should I do that one now or wait?
Isn't it
Tommy Tuberville, former coach at Auburn. Okay. Tuberville, in talking to reporters the other day, talked about the 3 branches of government: the House, Senate, and presidency. The 3 branches of government.
I understand why we fought World War II.
Oh.
Well, they ask, depending on the option, he'll be a scholar.
So that's it. The U.S. Senate clearly stacked with giant brains. That's my Schmuck of the Week.
Greatest deliberative body.
Why don't we go to Allan Lengel for his Schmuck of the Week?
My Schmuck of the Week is John James. He made some statements saying that, or somebody did it on his behalf, saying John James didn't go fight for this country so that he could, fight to protect voter fraud. He fought for a free election. And, he has pretended during this election, as opposed to last time where he was Mr. Trump, everything was Trump. And now this time he's like, I'm an independent guy. I'm a 39-year-old black man from Detroit. They're trying to paint me as like being part of this administration. He's so duplicitous. He's so disingenuous. I mean, during the last election, he said that the Democratic Party was a godless party. And now he's come up with this, I'm a soldier, which is great. He gets kudos for that, but it doesn't give you the right to just make up stuff and fall in line with the Republican Party, which is contesting and calling out for fraud.
2,000% behind Trump, 2,000%. Yes. Don't forget that.
The James thing is interesting because he clearly still views a future in politics in some elected office.
Yes.
Someone has purchased John James for Congress, and there have been rumors that he's thinking of running against Haley Stevens or running for.
They
governor.
wanted him last time,
and so I look at it from a couple of perspectives. One, just kind of like it's an odd duck. He's made a series of choices that I think are short-term ruinous. But I think people can't look past the fact that look into his character and keep that in mind as he maneuvers for another political landing place. Because I can't think of anyone outside of Mike Shirkey in this state who debased himself more in the public eye than John James.
I think John James should shoot for like Farmington Hills City Council.
That is his hometown, after all.
Yes, I think you should start from there.
All right. Who wants to go next in their Schmuck of the Week nominee?
I'll go.
All right, Susan Demas.
I would nominate House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy of California, who decided to embrace the new QAnon caucus into their big white tent. And also is having difficulty accepting the fact that Joe Biden won the election.
Okay.
I thought his press conference was a royal embarrassment.
We've been saying that a lot these last couple of days. Joe, who do you got?
Well, I'm going to stick local. I'm going to go with Macomb County Executive Republican Mark Hackle for insisting that Macomb County and the state of Michigan has to be wide open when the hospitals are full. I really can't understand why he continues to do this. He continues to insist that everything should be open, and people are choking to death.
Well, he's a unicorn. I mean, he's. Will we call him a dino in a couple of years, Joe?
Here's the thing: he didn't endorse Joe Biden. Not many people know this.
Really?
No, he did not. He did not endorse Joe Biden because Joe Biden didn't ask. You see.
Yes.
You have to ask him. Okay.
He didn't endorse a number of the countywide Democrats who lost.
And here's a little preview. He won't be endorsing Gretchen Whitmer in 22.
Well, not if he wants to stay in power in Macomb County these days. I mean, I was just driving through there the other day, and you're like, whoa, still a lot of Trump flags everywhere in Macomb County. That's changing quite a bit. So, Nancy Derringer, who do you have?
Well, I had John James. I should have had a backup, and I apologize. I'm just going to pull this one, out of the nether regions. I'm going to go with Kim Guilfoyle, only because you love her. I really do. I really do. I mean, I have a soft spot for hot female messes, like Louise Linton and Kim Guilfoyle. But I learned this week that apparently at some fundraiser, she offered a lap dance to
I forgot about that.
To whoever gave the most or something like that, which just made me
wow.
And yeah, she's and she's like what she got coronavirus. They had like this big birthday party for her at Mar-a-Lago, and I believe it was her 50th. Oh, it might have been her 52nd or something. So God bless her for keeping the spark of her hot, stripper inner child alive, but at the same time,
I worry if she has daughters, because the projection there will be terrible.
I don't think she does. I really don't think she does. It would have ruined her boobs, and she paid a lot for them. So.
Well, I definitely have to give a shout out to Purdue and Loeffler in Georgia as potential schmucks of the week for attacking the Secretary of State in Georgia from their own party for running what they call as a rigged election. When they start eating their own, there are problems. And those two are both in deep trouble, because the national scrutiny that's coming to both of those races. Remember, we only scratched the surface of their investment stuff that happened at the beginning of this COVID thing. It's just a matter of time before we really start digging and seeing exactly how much money they made off of our collective misfortune with COVID. Mm-hmm. That's something that I think is going to come back to bite them in the rear. And the fact that they are attacking their own is a sign of things to come for the Republicans. All right. Well, we need to wrap it up because we've been going for quite a while. I want to thank my special guests. Joe DiSano, thank you for being here. Susan Demas, thank you. MichiganAdvance.com, by the way. Great stuff that you can read there. Great coverage of Lansing and other parts of the state as well. And they also have a team of people around the country covering lots of great stuff. And she will be back on the program soon. As we get back to some sort of sense of normalcy in Lansing, there's going to be some weird stuff to watch up there. So we'll have Susan back on the program soon. Joe DiSano, DiSano Strategies, thank you for being here. I appreciate it as well.
Thank you.
Nancy Derringer and Allan Lengel. We talk all the time. So we'll see your work in Deadline Detroit, deadlinedetroit.com. Don't forget, become a member at Deadline Detroit. Just $3 a month to get started to keep this little ragtag bunch of misfit toys together, because we do like it. There's lots of great stuff there, great coverage every week, and some good points of view. Thanks to Michael Lucido for engineering this broadcast today. I always appreciate his help. And also thanks to Lynette's Shrimp House for sponsoring this show. It's very cool. And Deadline Detroit. In fact, Todd Perkins, I think, will be joining us next week for the program. So that should be fun. We always love having him on here as well. And thanks to all of you for watching, sharing, liking, do all that kind of stuff for me, because the more people that see this, the more fun we can have, because we'll get to keep doing it for a long time. So thanks for everybody for the support. Have a great weekend. And Allan Lengel,
stay home safely.
We really got to stay home safely.
Yeah.
My name's ML Elric. I'm an investigative reporter and a connoisseur of fine yogurts. I know a little bit about Detroit. I know a little bit about deadlines, and I'm asking you to become a member of deadlinedetroit.com. Like me, I'm not asking you to do anything I wouldn't do. I'm making a monthly donation. My wife is making a monthly donation. I know that seems redundant, but they need the money, and the money goes to a good place. Getting the story out, getting the truth out. Because if we don't support local journalism, there's some people a couple blocks away from here who are going to get away with a whole bunch of stuff that's going to cost you a whole lot more than just a few bucks out of your pocket every month. Go to deadlinedetroit.com, become a member. You'll see it's really easy at the top of the website. Give early, give often, give generously. Just give a damn. That's the best way I know how.
The Craig Fahle Show on Deadline Detroit is made possible in part by Lynette's Shrimp House, located in Highland Park. It's Metro Detroit's premier destination, serving juicy fried shrimp, fish, and wings, alongside soul food sides and new additions to the menu like turkey tacos and desserts. Located at 13548 Woodward in Highland Park, just north of the Davison, Lynette's is open for takeaway noon to 8 Tuesday and Thursday, noon to 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday, and noon to 5 p.m. on Sunday. Call now, get some Lynette's.